The fluorescent lights of the emergency room burned against my eyelids even when I closed them. I'd been on my feet for 14 hours straight, the double shift blurring into a nightmare of beeping monitors, bloody gauze, and patients who looked at me like I was invisible, which I suppose I was. Just another exhausted nurse in wrinkled scrubs, dark circles carved beneath my eyes like bruises, hair escaping its bun in frayed wisps. My daughter's face floated through my mind. Emma, only 3 years old, sleeping at my neighbor's apartment again. Mrs. Chen never complained, but I saw the way she looked at me lately, a mixture of pity and concern that made my stomach twist. I promised Emma pancakes tomorrow, Mickey Mouse shaped, her favorite. If I could just make it through tonight. The antiseptic smell of the hospital had seeped so deep into my skin, I couldn't remember what I used to smell like. Vanilla, maybe? There was a bottle of perfume gathering dust on my bathroom counter, a relic from a life before everything fell apart. Before Marcus. Before the debts. Before I learned that love could wear the mask of a monster. Nurse Hayes! Dr. Morrison's voice cut through my fog. Trauma coming in, GSW to the shoulder, ETA 3 minutes, gunshot wound. My hands moved automatically, checking supplies, prepping the trauma bay. This was the part of working at St. Catherine's downtown location that I'd never gotten used to. The violence that walked through our doors like it belonged here. Gang members, drug dealers, people whose eyes held secrets that could get you killed. I didn't ask questions. I just patched them up and tried not to think about the blood on my hands. The ambulance sirens wailed closer. I steadied myself against the gurney, my vision swimming slightly. When was the last time I ate? This morning? Yesterday? The protein bar in my locker seemed like a distant memory. Stay sharp, Hayes, I muttered to myself, digging my nails into my palms. The small pain helped. It always did. The doors burst open, but it wasn't the patient that made my breath catch. It was the man who walked in behind the gurney. No, walked wasn't the right word. He moved like darkness taking form. Each step deliberate, controlled, radiating a danger so palpable the air seemed to thicken around him. Tall, probably 6'2" or 6'3", wearing a black suit that probably cost more than my yearly rent. The fabric caught the harsh hospital lights like water, perfectly tailored to shoulders that suggested violence beneath refinement. 2 men flanked him, dressed similarly, but lacking his presence, security. Obviously armed, judging by the subtle bulges beneath their jackets. They scanned the room with professional paranoia, hands hovering near their waists, but him. God, him. He couldn't have been older than 32, maybe 33, with features that belonged in a Renaissance painting, sharp jawline shadowed with stubble, full lips pressed into a grim line, a straight nose that had never been broken. Dark hair swept back from his forehead, slightly mussed, a single strand falling forward, but it was his eyes that trapped me. Gray, like storm clouds before lightning strikes, intense and calculating, missing nothing. Those eyes swept the emergency room and landed on me. The world tilted. I gripped the gurney harder, trying to focus on the patient, a man in his 20s, conscious but pale, blood soaking through the compress on his shoulder. One of the suited man's people, clearly. The way the younger man kept glancing at his boss, seeking approval, terrified of disappointing him. Trauma Bay 2, I managed, my voice steadier than I felt. Professional, clinical. I could do this. We moved quickly, transferring the patient. Dr. Morrison took over, barking orders. I should have stepped back, let the other nurses handle it, but my body wouldn't cooperate. The room spun gently, like I was on a boat in calm waters. Not now. Please, not now. I pressed my hand against the cool metal of the supply cart, focusing on the sensation. The suited man had positioned himself in the corner, arms crossed, watching everything with the intensity of a predator. He didn't belong in a hospital. He belonged in shadows, in places where ordinary people feared to tread. The scent of him cut through the antiseptic. Expensive cologne, cedar, and something darker, like smoke, like power. It wrapped around my senses, foreign and intoxicating. Nurse, I need you on vitals, Dr. Morrison called. I moved forward, my legs feeling disconnected from my body. The blood pressure cuff. Where was the blood pressure cuff? My hands fumbled with the equipment, fingers trembling. "Hayes? You all right?" "Fine," I lied. I wasn't fine. The room was spinning faster now, the edges of my vision going gray. I could hear my heartbeat in my ears, too fast, too loud. When did it get so hot in here? The scrubs clung to my skin, suffocating. Emma's face again. I needed to get home to Emma. "Vitals stable," someone said. Not me. Another nurse. "When did she take over?" I took a step backward, trying to find air, trying to find space. My shoulder hit something solid, the wall. Good. I could lean against the wall for just a second, catch my breath. And then the floor rushed up to meet me. No, I was falling. The last thing I registered was the color gray, like storm clouds, and the sensation of arms catching me, strong and sure, stopping my descent. The scent of cedar and smoke enveloped me completely, a voice, low and dangerous, speaking words I couldn't quite grasp through the fog pulling me under, then nothing. Consciousness returned in fragments. Soft sheets. Too soft. Not the scratchy hospital linens or my threadbare blankets at home. These felt like liquid silk against my skin. Low lighting, warm. A lamp somewhere, casting golden shadows. The smell of leather and old books, mixed with that same cologne. Cedar and smoke. I forced my eyes open, blinking against the haze. An unfamiliar ceiling, dark wood beams, crown molding. Definitely not the hospital break room. Panic spiked through my chest. I sat up too quickly, the room spinning again. A large hand pressed gently against my shoulder, easing me back down. Easy. That voice. Deep. Controlled. With an edge that suggested it was rarely disobeyed. I turned my head and found him sitting in a leather chair beside the bed. No, beside the couch. I was on a couch, I realized, in what appeared to be an office. Mahogany desk, floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, a bar cart in the corner with crystal decanters catching the light, and him, watching me with those gray eyes that seemed to see straight through skin and bone to something deeper. Who? My voice came out as a croak. I swallowed. Tried again. Where am I? My office. At the hospital. He leaned back slightly, giving me space but maintaining that predatory focus. You collapsed. The doctors wanted to admit you. Horror flooded through me. Emma. Your daughter is fine. 3 years old. Staying with a Mrs. Chen in apartment 4B. He said it casually, like he was commenting on the weather, but the implication froze my blood. He knew where I lived. Knew about Emma. How? Your wallet. He gestured to the side table where my worn purse sat, looking pathetic next to the expensive decor. ID, photos, basic information. His eyes never left my face. Also found several past due notices, a disconnection warning from the electric company, and... He paused, something flickering in his expression. Divorce papers. Finalized 8 months ago. Humiliation burned through me, hot and acidic. Of course. He'd gone through my things while I was unconscious. Seen every desperate, pathetic detail of my falling apart life. I tried to sit up again. Slower this time. I need to go. My shift... Your shift is over. I spoke with the administrator. You're taking the next 3 days off. I can't afford... paid leave. His tone allowed no argument. Doctor's orders after a collapse. Standard protocol. I stared at him, trying to understand what was happening. Hospital administrators didn't take orders from visitors, even wealthy ones, unless... Who are you? A slight smile touched his lips, but it didn't reach his eyes. Dante Romano. The name hit me like a physical blow. Everyone in the city knew that name, whispered in careful tones, attached to rumors of empire and violence. The Romano family didn't just have connections. They were the connections. They owned half the city, legally and otherwise, and I'd collapsed in front of him. I should go. I swung my legs off the couch, ignoring the protest of my exhausted body. My shoes were beside the couch, neatly placed. Had he taken them off? The thought of his hands on my feet, even through that innocent gesture, sent a strange shiver down my spine. You should eat. He stood in one fluid motion, moving to the bar cart. Not alcohol. a covered tray. He lifted the silver dome to reveal a sandwich, fruit, and a bottle of water. "When did you last have a meal?" That's none of your... "Yesterday morning." He said it with certainty. "Coffee and half a granola bar in your car. Nothing since." The room felt too small suddenly, the air too thin. "Are you having me followed?" "Now I am." The casual admission should have terrified me. Instead, some twisted part of my exhausted brain wondered what it meant. Why would someone like Dante Romano care about a nobody nurse? He picked up the plate, crossing to where I sat frozen on the edge of the couch. Up close, he was even more devastating. The sharp angles of his face, the way his jaw tensed slightly, the barely restrained power in every controlled movement. He set the plate on the coffee table in front of me. "Eat." It wasn't a request. My stomach betrayed me with a low growl. His eyes flickered with something that might have been amusement or satisfaction. "I can't accept this," I said, even as my hands reached for the sandwich. "You already are." The first bite exploded across my taste buds. Real turkey, fresh bread, vegetables that actually had flavor. I hadn't realized how long I'd been surviving on vending machine food and instant ramen until faced with something made with actual care. He watched me eat with that unsettling intensity, arms crossed, expression unreadable. After a few bites, the practical part of my brain kicked in. "Your man," I said, "the gunshot victim. He'll be fine. Clean through and through, missed the major vessels. He'll need physical therapy, but he should regain full range of motion." "I know. I spoke with Dr. Morrison." "Of course he did." I took another bite, buying time, trying to think. Every instinct screamed danger. Men like Dante Romano didn't show kindness without expectation of payment. Didn't catch falling nurses and feed them expensive sandwiches without reason. "Why am I really here?" I asked quietly. He moved then, crossing to the window that overlooked the parking lot. 3 floors up. I hadn't realized we'd moved that far from the emergency room. His hand slid into his pockets, the motion pulling the suit jacket tight across his shoulders. "When I caught you," he said, voice low. "Your sleeve pulled up. Ice flooded my veins. I saw the bruises, Sophia." No. My hand automatically went to my left forearm, covered now by my scrubs, but I could feel them beneath the fabric, the yellowing fingerprints from 2 weeks ago, the greenish shadow of older marks. Marcus's parting gifts, from the night he came by demanding money I didn't have. "It's nothing," I said quickly. Too quickly. "I'm clumsy. Working in a hospital, you get bumped." "Don't." The single word cut through my excuses like a blade. He turned from the window, and the look in his eyes stole my breath. Not pity. Something far more dangerous, something that looked like rage held on the thinnest leash. "I know what defensive bruises look like," he said quietly. "I know the pattern of someone gripping too hard, trying to control. I know the difference between an accident and intent." My throat closed up. I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. He took a step closer, then another, moving with that predatory grace until he stood directly in front of me. Slowly, giving me time to refuse, he reached out and gently pushed up my sleeve. The bruises looked worse in the lamplight. Purple-black fingerprints, 4 on the outside of my forearm, 1 thumb-shaped on the inside. Unmistakable. His jaw clenched so tight I heard his teeth grind. "Who hurt you?" The question came out soft, deadly soft. The kind of soft that preceded storms. I should have lied. Should have protected Marcus, even after everything. Should have remembered that men like Dante Romano solved problems with violence. And I didn't want anyone's blood on my hands, even the man who'd made my life hell. But I was so tired, so desperately tired of carrying everything alone. "My ex-husband," I whispered. "But it's handled. The divorce is final. He's not supposed to come near me or Emma." Supposed to. Those 2 words held volumes. His finger traced the air above one bruise, not touching, but close enough that I felt the heat of his skin. "When?" 2 weeks ago. He came by demanding money for his debts. I didn't have any, so I couldn't finish. His debts. Dante's voice had gone completely flat. What kind of debts? And there it was. The question that would reveal just how stupid I'd been. How blind. Gambling. He owes money to some people, bad people. I laughed, the sound bitter. He used my name on some of the accounts, forged my signature. Now they think I'm responsible too. The silence stretched long enough that I looked up, meeting those gray eyes. What I saw there made my heart stutter. Not anger at me, at the situation. Pure, cold fury barely contained beneath expensive tailoring and controlled breathing. Names, he said. I need names. I don't... Sophia, my name in his mouth sounded like a promise, or a threat. Give me the names of who he owes. And give me his name, his full name. I should have refused, should have known better than to feed information to a wolf. But Emma's face floated through my mind again. Emma, who asked why Daddy came to the door angry. Emma, who I'd had to shield with my own body while Marcus threw things and screamed. Marcus Hayes, I heard myself say. And the debt. I don't know all of them. But one name I heard was Kozlov, Victor Kozlov. Something changed in Dante's expression. Recognition, sharp and immediate. Victor. He said the name like it tasted foul. You're telling me your ex-husband owes money to the Kozlov family? The way he said family made it clear he meant it the same way someone might say plague. I don't know. He never told me details. I just heard him on the phone once, pleading with someone named Victor, promising he'd pay. My voice cracked. That's when I knew I had to get Emma out. Had to leave. Dante stared at me for a long moment, and I watched calculations happening behind those gray eyes. Strategy forming, plans being made that I wasn't privy to. Finally, he pulled out his phone, one of 3 I'd noticed in his jacket, and pressed a single button. Marco. I need complete background on a Marcus Hayes, age approximately 30, former husband of Sophia Hayes, current addresses, known associates, debt profile, everything. He paused. And pull the file on Victor Kozlov's current outstanding loans. He ended the call without goodbye, attention returning to me with laser focus. You're not going back to your apartment tonight. It wasn't a question, but I answered anyway. Yes, I am. Emma will be brought here, with Mrs. Chen if that makes you more comfortable. I have secure rooms. No. I stood on shaking legs, anger finally cutting through exhaustion and fear. Absolutely not. I don't know you. I'm not bringing my daughter anywhere near... I gestured vaguely at him, at the office, at everything he represented. His expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. Respect, maybe, or challenge. Victor Kozlov's collection methods involve breaking fingers, sometimes hands, sometimes worse. His voice remained clinical, detached. If he knows where you live, and he does, if your ex gave him your information, you're not safe. Your daughter is not safe. The words landed like physical blows. The restraining order is paper. Paper doesn't stop men like Victor. And you do? The question hung between us, loaded with meaning. Dante's smile returned, that cold expression that never touched his eyes. Yes, I do. The phone call came at 11:43 p.m. I watched Dante's face as he answered, noted the way his expression shifted from controlled neutrality to something harder, colder. He'd been making calls for the past hour from his position by the window, speaking in low Italian that flowed like dark water, beautiful and incomprehensible. Each conversation ended the same way. A curt command, the snap of finality. I sat on his couch feeling like an intruder in my own life. Understood, he said into the phone, then lowered it, those gray eyes finding mine across the room. Your apartment was broken into approximately 30 minutes ago. The world stopped. Emma is safe. Mrs. Chen took her to her sister's house 2 hours ago. She said she had a bad feeling. His jaw tightened. Good instincts. My hands started shaking. I pressed them between my knees, trying to stop the tremors. How bad? They were looking for something. Tore apart your bedroom, kitchen. Left the child's room mostly intact. He crossed to the bar cart, poured amber liquid into a crystal glass. Whiskey, probably. Expensive, like everything else he touched. This wasn't random, Sophia. They knew what they wanted. I don't have anything. My voice sounded hollow, distant. Marcus took everything valuable when he left. The TV, my laptop, jewelry my grandmother left me. There's nothing. Dante brought me the glass. Our fingers brushed as I took it, and electricity sparked up my arm. He noticed. I saw recognition flicker in his eyes, but said nothing. They weren't looking for valuables, they were looking for leverage. I took a sip. The whiskey burned, smooth and harsh at once, spreading heat through my chest. Against who? I'm nobody. You're connected to Marcus, who's connected to Victor. He settled into the chair across from me, legs crossed, perfectly at ease despite discussing home invasion like it was weather. And Victor is connected to me. That pulled my attention from the glass. What? The Kozlov family operates in my city, on my streets. His tone made it clear this was a problem. They pay tribute for that privilege. Recently, Victor's been testing boundaries, expanding into territories that aren't his, making moves without permission. I stared at him, trying to process. You're saying this is about territory? About some kind of gang politics? Family politics, he corrected. And yes, that's insane. I'm a nurse, a single mother. I have nothing to do with any of this. You do now. The certainty in those 3 words made my stomach drop. Dante leaned forward, elbows on his knees, attention focused on me with that unnerving intensity. Victor sent men to your apartment as a message. To Marcus, yes, but also to me. He's showing he can reach into my city, touch my people, without consequence. I'm not your people. You became my people the moment I caught you. He said it simply, like stating a fact, like catching a falling woman somehow transferred ownership. Everyone in that hospital saw me carry you out. Saw my men clear the way, saw me put you in my car. He paused. In this world, Sophia, perception is reality, and the perception is that you're under my protection. I didn't ask for that. No, you didn't. Something flickered across his face. Regret, maybe, or calculation. But it's done. And Victor will use you to get to me if I let him. We'll use your daughter. Emma. God, Emma. The whiskey glass nearly slipped from my numb fingers. Dante reached out, steadying it, his hand warm and solid over mine. He didn't pull away immediately, neither did I. What do I do? The question came out broken, defeated. You let me handle this. How? His thumb traced small circles on the back of my hand, an absent gesture that seemed at odds with the violence underlying our conversation. By staying here, by keeping your daughter close and safe, by trusting that I don't let people hurt what's mine. What's mine? I should have argued. Should have pointed out that I wasn't his anything, that we'd met hours ago, that this was completely insane. Instead, I asked, why? Why what? Why do you care? You don't know me. Your man got shot. That's the only reason you were even at the hospital. I'm just a nurse who passed out at an inconvenient time. I finally pulled my hand away, needing distance to think. So, why are you doing this? Dante sat back, studying me with those storm cloud eyes. For a long moment, he didn't answer. Then, slowly, he rolled up his left sleeve. A scar ran from his wrist to mid-forearm, thick and raised. Old, but vicious. I was 7, he said quietly. My father had enemies. One of them came to our house while he was away. My mother tried to protect us, me and my sister. His finger traced the scar. She put herself between us and the gun. Took bullets meant for children. I got this trying to pull her away. My throat tightened. Did she? She survived. Barely. His voice remained flat, emotionless. But I heard the rage beneath it, the old, unhealed wound. My father came home to find his family destroyed, his wife in the hospital, his children traumatized, and he made sure that man never threatened anyone again. The implication hung heavy in the air. After that, my father had a rule. Family is sacred. Women and children are untouchable. You violate that. You pay with everything. Dante's eyes locked on mine. I watched my mother suffer because someone used her as leverage. I won't watch it happen to someone else if I can prevent it. I'm not your family. No, he agreed. But you could have been someone's, and that's enough. The sincerity in his voice undid something in my chest. This was a man who'd built his life on violence, on power, on control. Yet here he sat, offering protection to a stranger because of a promise made to a bleeding child 30 years ago. It should have terrified me. Maybe it did. But it also felt like the first solid ground I'd stood on in months. "Okay," I whispered. "Okay, I'll stay. Tonight. Tomorrow we'll figure something else out." His expression didn't change, but satisfaction gleamed in his eyes. He knew I was lying about tomorrow, knew I had nowhere else to go that was safe. "I'll have Marco arrange a room for you and Emma. Private floor. Full security." He pulled out one of his phones, already typing. "Mrs. Chen too, if she's willing." "Where is this? Some hotel you own?" "My building. Residential tower downtown. Top 3 floors are mine." Of course they were. My phone buzzed in my purse. I dug it out, saw Mrs. Chen's number, and answered immediately. "Sophie, thank God. Are you all right? I heard about the break-in." "I'm fine. Is Emma?" "Sleeping like an angel. She doesn't know anything happened. But Sophie, the police came by. They have questions." Dante held out his hand for the phone. I hesitated, then passed it over. "Mrs. Chen? This is Dante Romano. I'm a friend of Sophia's." His voice transformed, becoming warm, reassuring, nothing like the cold calculation he'd shown me. "She's with me, and she's safe. I'd like to send a car to bring you and Emma to a secure location for the night. Would that be acceptable?" I couldn't hear her response, but her tone shifted, cautious, curious. "No, ma'am, I understand your concern. The car will be a black SUV, license plate." He rattled off numbers. 2 men will accompany it, Marco and James. They'll show you identification, and of course I can have Sophia confirm everything. He handed the phone back. "Mrs. Chen?" I tried to sound normal, like my life hadn't just exploded. "It's okay, really. Mr. Romano he's helping me figure this out. Please just come. I need to see Emma." A long pause. "Sophie, honey, I've lived in this city 60 years. I know who the Romanos are." My stomach clenched. "I know what it looks like, but it looks like maybe someone's finally taking care of you." Her voice softened. "God knows you've needed it. Okay, we'll come. But if anything feels wrong, you call the police immediately. I know." I met Dante's gaze. "Thank you." After we hung up, silence settled over the office. Dante made several more calls, each one adding layers to whatever plan he was constructing. I caught fragments: surveillance, background checks, payment arrangements. The casual efficiency with which he orchestrated lives was both impressive and chilling. "Sophia." I looked up. He'd moved closer without me noticing, now crouching in front of the couch so we were eye level. "When Emma gets here, she's going to have questions. Children are perceptive." His hand reached out, fingers ghosting over my forearm where the bruises lay hidden. "I need you to understand something. In my world, protection is absolute, but it comes with rules." "What rules?" "You don't go anywhere alone, not until this is resolved." "That's ridiculous." "You don't contact Marcus, for any reason, even if he calls, begs, threatens." My jaw clenched. "Fine. And you tell me everything. Every debt collector who calls, every threat, every time you see something that doesn't feel right." His fingers wrapped gently around my wrist, thumb pressing against my pulse point. "No secrets, Sophia. Secrets get people killed." The touch sent heat racing up my arm, pooling in my chest. Wrong. This was wrong. He was dangerous, a criminal, someone I should be running from. So why did his touch feel like safety? "Okay," I breathed. His eyes darkened. "Say it." "No secrets." "Good girl." The praise shouldn't have affected me, definitely shouldn't have sent a shiver down my spine or made my breath catch. But it did both, and from the slight curve of his lips, he knew exactly what he'd done. The office door opened. A man entered. Marco, presumably, the one Dante had been speaking to on the phone. Tall, built like a brick wall, with a scar cutting through his left eyebrow. He took one look at Dante crouched in front of me, at the intimate space between us, and his expression carefully blanked. "Boss, the Chen woman and the kid are 5 minutes out. James is bringing them up." Dante stood smoothly. "Good. Is the suite ready?" "Fully stocked. Clothes in the child's size, basics for the women." Marco's eyes flicked to me. Doctor's coming in the morning to check on the nurse. Make sure the collapse wasn't anything serious. I'm fine, I protested. I was just exhausted. You'll see the doctor. Dante's tone left no room for argument. Marco, what about the apartment? Police are still processing. Looks like 2 men, professionals, knew what they were doing. No prints, no evidence. Building security footage was looped. Marco's expression darkened. But we have people in the precinct. Word is Victor's name came up. Confirmation? Not yet. But the lead detective is asking questions about the Hayes woman's ex-husband and his connections. They were talking about me like I wasn't there. I stood, anger cutting through exhaustion. Stop. Just stop. I'm right here. If you're going to discuss my life, at least have the decency to include me in the conversation. Both men turned to look at me. Marco seemed surprised. Dante looked pleased. You're right. I apologize. Dante gestured to Marco. This is Marco Vitale, my head of security. He'll be coordinating your protection detail. Marco, Sophia Hayes. She's under full protection protocols. No one touches her or her family without going through me first. Marco nodded once. Understood, boss. To me. Ma'am, please don't call me ma'am. I'm 26, not 60. The corner of Marco's mouth twitched. Sophia, then. A commotion in the hallway drew our attention. Small feet running, a child's voice calling out, Mommy! Emma burst through the door, Mrs. Chen hurrying behind her, and everything else ceased to matter. I dropped to my knees as my daughter launched herself into my arms, her small body solid and real and perfect. Baby girl, I whispered into her hair, breathing in her scent, baby shampoo, and the strawberry lip balm she loved. Are you okay? We went to Auntie Lynn's house. She has a cat. Emma pulled back, eyes bright with excitement. Then her gaze landed on Dante, still standing by the window, and her expression shifted to curiosity. Who's that man? That's... I hesitated, unsure how to explain. That's Mr. Romano. He's a friend. A friend who has a really big office, Emma observed with 3-year-old honesty. Are you a prince? Dante's laugh surprised me, genuine, warm, completely unlike the cold calculation I'd seen before. He crossed to us, moving slowly, and crouched down to Emma's level the same way he had with me. Not a prince, sweetheart, just a man who helps people. Emma studied him with the seriousness only small children possess. Mommy needs help. She's always tired. Something flashed across Dante's face. His eyes met mine over Emma's head, and I saw promise in them, determination. I know, he said softly. That's going to change. Mrs. Chen cleared her throat. I'd almost forgotten she was there, watching this entire interaction with sharp eyes. When I looked at her, she gave me a long, measuring look that said we'd be having a conversation later. Mr. Romano, she said carefully, I appreciate the escort, but I need to understand what's happening. Sophie is like a daughter to me. That little girl is precious. I won't let either of them walk into danger. Dante stood, giving her the same respect he'd shown Emma. Mrs. Chen, you're right to be cautious. The truth is, Sophia's ex-husband made enemies, dangerous ones. Those enemies came to her apartment tonight. They're looking for him, but they'll use Sophia and Emma as leverage if given the chance. He paused. I'm preventing that. By putting them under your protection? Yes. And what does that cost? The question hung in the air. I held Emma tighter, waiting for the answer I was afraid to hear. Dante's expression never changed. It cost nothing except trust. And time. Time for what? For me to eliminate the threat. The casual way he said eliminate made my blood run cold. Mrs. Chen noticed my reaction, her hand finding my shoulder, squeezing gently. I think, she said slowly, that Sophie and I need to have a private conversation. Dante nodded once. Marco will show you to your suite. Take all the time you need. I'll be here when you're ready to talk. Marco stepped forward, gesturing toward the door. This way, ladies. I stood, lifting Emma into my arms even though she was getting heavy. Mrs. Chen took my elbow, steadying me, and together we followed Marco out of Dante's office. But I felt Dante's eyes on me the entire way, burning into my back like a brand, like a claim. The suite was obscene. 3 bedrooms, a full kitchen, living room bigger than my entire apartment, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, lights spreading out like stars, furniture that probably cost more than I made in a year, and toys. A corner filled with toys still in packages, every kind a little girl could want. Emma was in heaven, immediately gravitating to a dollhouse that was taller than she was. Mrs. Chen and I stood in the kitchen, voices low. "Sophie." Her tone was gentle but firm. "I need you to be honest with me. Are you safe with this man?" "I don't know," I admitted. "But I know I'm not safe without him. He's a criminal." "Yes. A very powerful one from what I understand. The Romano family." She shook her head. "I've heard stories, Sophie. Violence. Control. They don't do anything without expecting something in return." "I know." I leaned against the marble counter, exhaustion crashing over me again. "But Mrs. Chen, you didn't see the apartment, the way it was destroyed. And Marcus," my voice broke, "he's brought this to my door, to Emma's door. I can't fight this alone, so you're trading one dangerous man for another?" "Maybe." I met her eyes. "Or maybe I'm finally accepting help from someone who has the power to actually protect us." She studied me for a long moment, then sighed. "He looks at you like you're already his." "What?" "The way he watched you in that office, the way his eyes follow your every movement." Mrs. Chen's expression softened. "I've been married 40 years, honey. I know possession when I see it. Question is, are you okay with that?" I should have said no. Should have been horrified by the idea of belonging to someone, especially someone like Dante Romano. But all I could think about was the feel of his hand on my wrist, the promise in his voice when he said protection is absolute, the rage in his eyes when he saw my bruises. "I don't know," I whispered. Emma's laugh floated from the living room, pure and joyful. The sound of a child who felt safe. When was the last time I'd heard her laugh like that? Mrs. Chen squeezed my hand. "Then figure it out fast, Sophie, before you're in too deep to escape." But as I stood in that beautiful suite, in a building owned by a man who'd claimed me as his, with nothing more than a cot fall and a few whispered words, I wondered if it was already too late. If maybe, somewhere between the hospital emergency room and this moment, I'd already crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. If maybe I'd already become Dante Romano's. And God help me, I wasn't sure I wanted to fight it. Morning came too quickly and not quickly enough. I'd spent the night in a bed so soft it felt like floating, but sleep remained elusive. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw my apartment torn apart. Saw shadows moving through Emma's room. Saw Marcus's face twisted with rage, demanding money I didn't have. Saw gray eyes watching me with possessive intensity. Emma slept curled against me, her small body warm and trusting. Mrs. Chen had taken the 3rd bedroom, but I'd heard her moving around past midnight, probably as unable to sleep as I was. In the morning light filtering through silk curtains, everything seemed surreal. The luxury, the danger, the man who'd somehow become my protector in the span of hours. A soft knock interrupted my spiraling thoughts. "Come in," I called quietly, not wanting to wake Emma. Marco entered carrying a tray. Coffee, fruit, pastries that smelled like heaven. He set it on the bedside table with surprising gentleness for a man his size. "Boss wants to see you when you're ready. The doctor's here to check you over." His eyes flicked to Emma. "There's a woman downstairs, Rosa, who helps with kids. Used to be a kindergarten teacher. She can watch the little one if you want." "I don't know if..." Boss already had her background checked. Clean record, references, the works. Marco's expression softened slightly. "He's thorough, Sophia, especially about kids." After Marco left, I extracted myself carefully from Emma's grip and headed to the bathroom. Another obscenity. Marble everywhere, a shower with 6 different heads, towels thick enough to use as blankets. Someone had stocked it with toiletries, all high-end brands I'd only seen in magazines. The hot water felt like absolution. I stood under the spray until my skin turned pink, watching blood-tinged water circle the drain. A small cut on my hand from the hospital that I hadn't noticed. When I finally emerged, I found clothes laid out on the counter. Jeans in my exact size, a soft cashmere sweater in deep green. Undergarments still in packages, also perfectly sized. The precision of it should have creeped me out. Instead, it felt like being seen. Really seen, maybe for the first time in years. I dressed quickly, towel-dried my hair, and emerged to find Emma awake and Mrs. Chen already in the kitchen making breakfast from the fully stocked refrigerator. "Mommy, look!" Emma held up a stuffed unicorn nearly as big as she was. "It was by my bed!" My throat tightened. Dante had thought of everything. After breakfast, Rosa arrived, a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and a grandmother's warmth. Emma took to her immediately, especially when Rosa suggested they build the most elaborate dollhouse city ever created. Mrs. Chen squeezed my hand. "Go. I'll stay with them." The doctor, a woman named Dr. Reeves, met me in one of the spare bedrooms that had been converted into a makeshift examination room. Professional, efficient. She checked my vitals, drew blood, asked pointed questions about my collapse, severe exhaustion, dehydration, and malnutrition. She concluded. "Your iron levels are concerning. When did you last eat properly?" "I don't remember." Her expression gentled. "Mr. Romano mentioned you're a single mother working doubles." "Was working doubles. Apparently I've been given mandatory time off." "Good. Your body is running on fumes, Sophia. Another week like this, and you'd have been looking at organ damage." She scribbled on a prescription pad. "I'm ordering supplements, a strict meal plan, and rest. Real rest." After she left, I found myself standing at the window, looking out at the city below. Somewhere down there, Marcus was hiding. Victor Kozlov was making plans, and I was in a golden tower, protected by a man whose violence was legendary. The view never gets old. I spun around. Dante stood in the doorway, wearing different clothes than last night. Dark slacks, black shirt rolled to his forearms. Casual, but still radiating power. His hair was damp, suggesting a recent shower, and that cedar and smoke scent wrapped around me. "You're up early," I said, trying to sound normal. "Didn't sleep much." He crossed to stand beside me at the window, close enough that I felt his body heat. "How are you feeling?" "Like my life isn't mine anymore." "It is. Just safer now." I turned to face him fully. In daylight, he was even more devastating. The sharp angles of his face, the intensity of those gray eyes, the way he looked at me like I was something precious. Something worth protecting. "Why are you really doing this?" I asked. "And don't give me the speech about your mother again. This is more than that." His jaw tensed. For a long moment, he didn't answer. Just studied my face like he was memorizing every detail. Then slowly his hand came up to trace the air beside my cheek, not touching, but close enough that I felt the ghost of contact. "When I caught you yesterday," he said quietly, "you weighed nothing, like you were disappearing. And I thought about my mother, yes, but I also thought..." He paused, something vulnerable flickering across his features. "I thought that if I let you fall, if I let you break, I'd never forgive myself. You didn't even know me." "No, but I knew that look in your eyes. The same one my mother had, the exhaustion of carrying everything alone, fighting battles no one sees, slowly breaking under weight that should never have been yours." His hand finally made contact, cupping my face with unexpected gentleness. I swore a long time ago that I'd never stand by and watch that happen again. Even to a stranger. My breath caught. His thumb traced my cheekbone, the touch sending electricity through my entire body. "Dante, I need you to understand something, Sophia." His voice dropped lower, intimate and dangerous. "This situation with Victor, with Marcus, it will get worse before it gets better. There will be decisions to make. Things you might not want to know about. You're going to hurt them." It wasn't a question. Yes. The honesty should have horrified me. Instead, some dark part of me felt relieved, safe. "I should care," I whispered. "I should tell you to stop, to let the police handle it, but you won't." "No." I closed my eyes, leaning slightly into his touch despite every rational thought screaming at me to pull away. Does that make me a bad person? It makes you human. His other hand found my waist, pulling me closer. It makes you a mother protecting her child. It makes you someone who's been hurt too many times and is finally letting someone else shoulder the burden. I opened my eyes to find him inches away, close enough to count the silver flecks in his gray irises, close enough to see the fine scar through his left eyebrow, close enough to feel his breath on my lips. "This is insane," I breathed. "Yes. We barely know each other. I know enough. Dante?" His phone buzzed, shattering the moment. He pulled it out with obvious reluctance, glanced at the screen, and his expression hardened. "I need to take this." He pressed a quick kiss to my forehead, the gesture so natural it stole my breath, and stepped away. "Stay here. I'll be right back." He disappeared into the hallway, voice dropping to that cold, dangerous tone I'd heard him use before. I sagged against the window, heart racing, trying to process what had just almost happened. I was attracted to Dante Romano. Dangerously, stupidly attracted to a man who solved problems with violence. A man who'd claimed me as his with nothing more than a caught fall. A man whose touch made me feel safer than I'd felt in years. The door opened again. Marco, his expression grim. "Sophia, I need you to come with me." Ice flooded my veins. "Emma is fine, safe with Rosa and Mrs. Chen. But boss needs you downstairs. Now." I followed him to the elevator, questions dying on my lips at his expression. We descended to what appeared to be a basement level. Concrete walls, industrial lighting, doors that looked reinforced. Marco led me to one at the end of the hallway and knocked twice. "Come." Dante's voice, but different. Colder. Marco opened the door. The room beyond looked like something from a movie. Sparse furniture, concrete floor with a drain in the center, and Marcus. My ex-husband knelt in the middle of the room, hands zip-tied behind his back, blood trickling from a split lip. Two of Dante's men flanked him. And Dante stood off to the side, arms crossed, radiating lethal calm. "Sophia," Marcus gasped when he saw me. "Thank God. Tell them this is a mistake. Shut up." Dante didn't raise his voice, but Marcus flinched like he'd been struck. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. This was real. This was actually happening. Dante crossed to me, his hand finding the small of my back, steadying me. "I'm sorry to bring you down here, but he needs to see you. Needs to understand what he's lost." "I don't understand. Marcus came here this morning demanding to see you. Said you were his wife, that I had no right to keep you from him." Dante's eyes never left Marcus's face. He seemed to think he still had a claim. "We're divorced," I said automatically. 8 months ago. "I know." But he doesn't seem to accept that. Dante's hand pressed more firmly against my back, possessive and protective. "So I'm going to make it very clear. For him and for you." He moved forward, crouching in front of Marcus with predatory grace. "You see those bruises on her arm, the ones shaped like fingers?" Marcus's eyes flicked to me, then away. "Guilty. Caught. I asked you a question." Dante's voice dropped to barely above a whisper. "Did you put those bruises on her?" "It wasn't. She wouldn't give me money. I was desperate." Dante's fist connected with Marcus's jaw so fast I barely saw it move. Marcus's head snapped back, blood spraying. "Wrong answer." Dante stood, rolled his shoulders, completely calm. "Let me explain how this works, Marcus. Sophia and Emma are under my protection now. That means no one touches them, ever. Especially not you. You can't just take my family. They're not yours anymore." Each word landed like a physical blow. "You lost that right when you put your hands on her. When you forged her name on debt papers. When you made her so afraid she couldn't eat or sleep." Marcus's face crumpled. "I was going to pay it back. I just needed time. Time's up." Dante gestured to his men. "Take him to Victor. Tell him this is the man who owes him money. Tell him it's a gift. One family to another. Professional courtesy." Horror bloomed across Marcus's face. "No. No, please, you can't. Victor will kill me." "Yes, he will." Dante's expression remained impassive. "But not before he takes his payment in other ways. Fingers first, I believe." "Sophia!" Marcus lunged toward me, held back by the men. "Please, tell him to stop. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." Something inside me cracked. All the fear, the exhaustion, the months of terror. It rose up like a wave. You're sorry? My voice came out steady, cold. You're sorry for beating me? For stealing from me? For putting Emma in danger? I took a step forward, and Dante's hand tightened on my back, supporting, not restraining. You're not sorry, Marcus. You're scared. There's a difference. Sophia, please. I begged you to stop, begged you to get help, begged you to leave us alone. Tears burned my eyes but didn't fall. And you didn't care. So why should I care now? Silence filled the room. Dante's thumb traced circles on my lower back, soothing, grounding. Take him, he said quietly. As Marcus was dragged from the room, his screams echoing down the hallway, I stood frozen, shaking. Dante's arms came around me from behind, pulling me against his chest. Breathe, he murmured against my hair. Just breathe. I just sentenced him to death, I whispered. No. He sentenced himself the moment he put his hands on you. Dante turned me in his arms, forcing me to meet his eyes. This isn't on you, Sophia. This is justice. It's murder. It's protection. His hands cupped my face, and I won't apologize for it, not when it keeps you safe. I should have been horrified. Should have run. Should have called the police and reported everything I'd just witnessed. Instead, I buried my face in Dante's chest and let him hold me while I shook apart. Because somewhere in the past 24 hours, I'd crossed a line, had accepted that safety came with a price, that protection from a man like Dante Romano meant living in his world, playing by his rules, meant becoming his in ways I was only beginning to understand. Hours later, I sat in Dante's office while he made calls. Emma was asleep upstairs, exhausted from playing all day. Mrs. Chen had given me another long look but said nothing, just squeezed my shoulder and disappeared into her room. You haven't eaten, Dante observed, hanging up his phone. Not hungry. Liar. He crossed to the bar cart, but instead of alcohol, he pulled out a covered plate, pasta, in a rich red sauce, still warm. Rosa made it, said it was her grandmother's recipe. Despite everything, my stomach growled. Dante's lips twitched with satisfaction. He watched me eat, that same intense focus he gave everything. When I finished, he took the empty plate and set it aside, then pulled me to my feet. Come here. He led me to the window. The city spread out below us, millions of lights in the darkness. His arms came around me from behind, chin resting on top of my head. I need to tell you something, he said quietly. Victor knows Marcus is in my custody. He's demanding a meeting. My body tensed. What does that mean? It means things are going to move fast now. Victor will want to make a statement, reassert his position. Dante's arms tightened. You and Emma will be safe here, but I need to handle this personally. You're going to kill him too, if necessary. The casual way he said it should have made me pull away. Instead, I leaned back into his warmth. When? Tomorrow night. There's a meeting place. Neutral ground. His lips brushed my temple. I'll have Marco and 20 men with me. But I need you to promise me something. What? That you'll stay here, no matter what you hear, no matter how long it takes. He turned me in his arms, gray eyes fierce. Promise me, Sophia. I promise. Say it again. I promise to stay here. Good girl. Those words again, sending heat through me despite the situation. His thumb traced my lower lip, and I saw desire flicker in his eyes. Controlled, but present. After tomorrow, he said quietly, things will be different, safer. You'll be able to breathe again, and then what? Then we figure out what this is. His hand splayed across my lower back, pulling me flush against him. Because make no mistake, Sophia, you're mine now, not because I caught you, not because of the situation, but because I've decided you are. And I don't let go of what's mine. I should have argued, should have asserted my independence. Instead, I whispered, okay. His eyes darkened. Yeah? Yeah. The kiss was inevitable. His lips claimed mine with fierce possession, one hand fisting in my hair, the other gripping my hip like he was afraid I'd disappear. I melted into him, months of loneliness and fear dissolving under the onslaught of his mouth. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against mine. "After tomorrow," he promised. "After I eliminate this threat. Then I'm going to show you exactly what being mine means." The next day crawled by with agonizing slowness. Dante left early, just after dawn. I'd woken to find him sitting on the edge of my bed, already dressed in all black, watching me with an expression I couldn't quite read. "I'll be back tonight," he'd said, fingers trailing down my cheek. "Stay inside. Marco's in charge of security. Don't open the door for anyone except him or my men." Then he'd kissed me, deep and possessive, like he was branding me, and disappeared. Emma sensed my tension. She clung to me all morning, unusually quiet, her small face scrunched with worry. "Is the scary man coming back?" she asked during lunch. My heart stopped. "What scary man, baby?" "Daddy. He was scary when he yelled." Her lower lip trembled. "Is he going to find us here?" I pulled her into my lap, breathing in her strawberry scent. "No, sweetheart. Daddy can't find us here. Mr. Romano made sure of it." "Is Mr. Romano your boyfriend?" The question caught me off guard. "Mrs." Chen looked up from her tea, eyebrows raised. "We're friends," I said carefully. "He looks at you like Prince Eric looks at Ariel." Emma's 3-year-old logic was startlingly accurate. "Like you're special." Mrs. Chen made a small sound that might have been agreement. By afternoon, I was crawling out of my skin. I tried reading, watching TV, playing with Emma. Nothing worked. My mind kept circling back to Dante, to whatever meeting was happening, to the violence I knew was coming. Around 4, Marco appeared. "Boss wanted me to check in. Make sure you have everything you need. I'm fine. Have you heard from him?" Marco's expression remained carefully neutral. "He's in position. Meeting's at 7. 3 more hours." I nodded, trying to look calm. After Marco left, Mrs. Chen sat beside me on the couch. Emma was in her room, building elaborate cities with blocks. "You're in love with him," Mrs. Chen said quietly. "What?" "No. We just met. Sophie." Her hand covered mine. "I've known you since Emma was born. I watched you try to make it work with Marcus. Watched you slowly break under his abuse. Watched you finally find the courage to leave. And in 2 days, I've seen more life in your eyes than in the entire 3 years before. That's just relief, safety. It's more than that." She squeezed my hand. "And I'm not saying it's wrong, but be careful, honey. Men like Dante Romano, they're all consuming. Once you're theirs, there's no halfway, no casual. They own you, body and soul. I know what I'm doing. Do you?" Her eyes searched mine. "Because from where I'm sitting, you've traded one cage for another. Marcus's cage was small and cruel. Dante's is golden and protective. But it's still a cage." Her words haunted me as evening approached. Was she right? Had I simply exchanged one form of control for another? But when I thought of Marcus's hands on me, leaving bruises, and then thought of Dante's touch, possessive but gentle, the comparison felt wrong, incomplete. Marcus had controlled through fear and pain. Dante controlled through protection and power. The difference felt significant, even if I couldn't quite articulate why. 7 o'clock came and went, then 8, 9. By 10, I was pacing the living room, phone clutched in my hand. Marco had stationed himself outside our door, silent and immovable. Every time I opened it to ask for updates, he gave the same answer. No word yet. Mrs. Chen had put Emma to bed hours ago and retired to her own room. But I couldn't even consider sleep, not while Dante was out there, potentially bleeding. Potentially... No. I refused to finish that thought. At 11:30, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. My heart lurched. I answered without thinking. "Hello?" Breathing on the other end. Heavy. Labored. "Sophia." The voice was wrong. Distorted. Mechanical. "Did you really think Romano could protect you?" Ice flooded my veins. "Who is this?" "Victor sends his regards." A pause. Then a sound like fabric rustling. "Your boyfriend made quite the entrance tonight. Very dramatic. Very... bloody. Where is he?" The words came out strangled. "Oh, he's alive. For now. But we have something he wants. Actually, more rustling. Someone. The line went dead. I stared at the phone, mind racing. Someone he wants. Who would Victor? Oh, God. I yanked open the door. Marco turned, hand already on his weapon. We need to call Dante. Now. Victor has someone. Boss is off comms right now. Standard protocol during. I don't care about protocol. My voice rose. Victor just called me. He has someone Dante cares about. We need to warn him. Marco's expression shifted. He pulled out his phone, pressed a button, waited. Come on, come on. Nothing. He tried another number. Another. Each one going straight to voicemail or ringing endlessly. Fuck. Marco looked at me. Stay here. Lock the door. Don't open it for anyone except me. I'm going to... The elevator dinged. We both froze. No one should be able to access this floor without clearance. Marco's hand went to his gun, positioning himself between me and the elevator doors. They opened. Dante stumbled out. He was covered in blood, shirt torn, face bruised, moving like every step hurt. But alive. God, alive. Boss! Marco rushed forward, supporting Dante's weight. What happened? Where's the team? Ambush. Dante's voice came out rough, damaged. Victor had 20 men waiting. We fought our way out, but his eyes found mine over Marco's shoulder, and something in them made my blood run cold. Sophia. Get Emma. We need to move. Now. What? Why? Victor knows about this location. The world tilted. Marco was already moving, shouting orders into his phone. I ran to Emma's room, scooped her up despite her sleepy protests, grabbed the bag of essentials Rosa had packed earlier. Mrs. Chen appeared, already dressed, moving with surprising speed for a woman her age. Dante waited by the elevator, swaying slightly, one hand pressed to his ribs, blood seeped between his fingers. You're hurt, I said, terror making my voice shake. Doesn't matter. We need to... An explosion rocked the building. The lights flickered. Emma screamed. I clutched her tighter, feeling her small body shake against mine. They're here, Marco said grimly. Boss, back exit. Compromised, they'll have men there too. Dante's jaw clenched. We go up. Up? Boss, we're already on the top floor. Roof. Helicopter. Dante grabbed my arm, his grip strong despite the blood loss. Move. Now. We ran for the stairwell, Marco leading, two other guards appearing from somewhere to flank us. The climb seemed endless. Emma crying, Mrs. Chen breathing hard, Dante leaving bloody handprints on the railing. Gunfire erupted below us. Keep moving! Marco shouted. We burst onto the roof. Wind whipped my hair, the city sprawling out in all directions. And there, a helicopter, rotors already spinning, pilot visible in the cockpit. Go! Dante pushed me toward it. Get in! Marco helped Mrs. Chen up first, then reached for Emma. I passed her over with shaking hands, watching as he secured her into a seat. More gunfire. Closer now. Sophia, now. Dante's hand on my back, shoving me toward the helicopter. I climbed in, turned to help him. He stumbled, hand going to his side. More blood. So much blood. Dante! I'm fine, just... He hauled himself up, movement sluggish. Marco jumped in last, slamming the door shut. Go, go, go! The helicopter lifted off just as men burst onto the roof. Bullets pinged off the metal. Emma buried her face in my chest, sobbing. Through the window, I watched Dante's building, my temporary sanctuary, erupt in flames. Victor had just declared war. We landed at a compound outside the city. High walls, armed guards, the kind of security that suggested this was a fortress, not a home. Dante was barely conscious by the time we touched down, his face gray beneath the blood. Get him to medical, Marco ordered, and set up the family in the East Wing. Full lockdown protocols. No. I grabbed Marco's arm. I'm staying with him. Sophia, you should... I'm staying with him. Something in my expression made him nod. They carried Dante to what looked like a fully equipped medical facility. Apparently mob bosses came prepared for bullet wounds. A doctor appeared, efficient and unsurprised by the violence, already cutting away Dante's bloody shirt. 2 gunshot wounds, the doctor announced. One through and through in the shoulder, One lodged in the ribs. He's lost a lot of blood. I stood frozen, Emma still in my arms, watching as they worked. Mrs. Chen appeared beside me, gently taking Emma. Come on, sweetheart. Let's go find you some cookies while the doctors help Mr. Romano. But Mommy, I'll be right there, baby. I promise. I kissed her forehead, tasting salt from my own tears. Be good for Mrs. Chen. After they left, I moved closer to the table. Dante's eyes fluttered open, found mine. You're safe, he rasped. I'm safe, you're the one with bullets in you. Doesn't matter. His hand reached for mine, bloody and trembling. As long as you're safe. Mr. Romano, I need you to stay still, the doctor said firmly. The surgery took 2 hours. I sat in a chair beside the table the entire time, holding Dante's hand while they extracted the bullet, stitched him up, pumped him full of antibiotics and painkillers. He drifted in and out of consciousness, but every time he woke, his eyes sought me first, making sure I was still there. Finally, the doctor stepped back. He'll live. Needs rest and no strenuous activity for at least 2 weeks. After they moved him to a bedroom, I sat beside the bed, still holding his hand. His fingers tightened around mine even in sleep, like he was afraid I'd disappear. Marco appeared in the doorway. Sophia, we need to talk. I followed him into the hallway, careful not to wake Dante. What happened tonight? I asked. The truth. Marco's expression was grim. Victor set a trap. He knew about the meeting location, knew our numbers, knew everything. Someone on our side leaked information. A traitor. Yeah. Boss figured it out too late. He ran a hand through his hair. We lost 3 men, 5 more injured, and Victor got away. So this isn't over. No, it's just beginning. Marco's eyes met mine. Victor sent a message with one of his men before he escaped. He said you're the key, that if Boss wants to end this, he has to choose, you or the family empire. My stomach dropped. What does that mean? It means Victor knows Boss cares about you, more than he should for someone he just met. Marco's tone gentled, and he's going to use that, exploit it. Force Boss to make impossible choices. Then I'll leave. I'll take Emma and disappear. Dante can... Boss will never let you go, not now. Marco shook his head. You don't understand. In our world, once someone is claimed, once they're declared under protection, letting them go is seen as weakness. Victor would hunt you down just to prove he could. So I'm trapped. You're protected. There's a difference. Was there? Mrs. Chen's words echoed in my mind. A golden cage is still a cage. But when I returned to Dante's room, found him sleeping fitfully, bandages wrapped around his torso, face still too pale, I knew I couldn't leave. Wouldn't leave. Not because I was trapped, but because somewhere in the past 48 hours, this dangerous, violent, possessive man had become mine just as much as I'd become his. I climbed carefully into the bed beside him, mindful of his injuries. His arm immediately came around me, pulling me close despite the pain it must have caused. Sophia, he murmured, still mostly asleep. I'm here. Don't leave, I won't. Promise. I promise. His lips brushed my forehead. Mine. Yours, I whispered into the darkness, and meant it. 3 days passed in the compound. Dante recovered slowly, frustrated by his body's limitations. I stayed close, ignoring Marco's suggestions that I give the boss space. Emma adjusted with the resilience of children, finding joy in the compound's garden and the guards who snuck her cookies. Mrs. Chen watched everything with knowing eyes, but said nothing. On the 4th day, Dante was finally strong enough to sit up without wincing. We need to talk, he said, patting the bed beside him. I set down the book I'd been reading and moved closer. His hand immediately found mine, thumb tracing patterns on my wrist. Victor made his move. Now I make mine. His gray eyes were hard, determined. But I need to know something first. What? Are you in this? Really in this? He turned to face me fully. Because what comes next? It's going to get darker, more violent. I'm going to do things you might not be able to forgive. To protect us. Yes. But also because it's who I am, Sophia. I'm not a good man. I've killed people, hurt people, built an empire on blood and fear. His grip tightened. If you're going to run, run now. Before you're in too deep. I thought about Marcus, bleeding and begging. Thought about the bodies Dante had left behind to keep me safe. Thought about the way he looked at Emma, with genuine affection, not possession. Thought about how, for the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe. I'm not running, I said firmly. Sophia, I'm not running, Dante. I'm choosing to stay. There's a difference. I cupped his face, feeling the stubble scratch my palms. You're not a good man. I know that. But you're good to me, good to Emma, and in a world where my own husband hurt me, where I had to work myself to death just to survive, that means something. His eyes searched mine, looking for doubt, finding none. If you stay, you're mine completely. No half measures. I know. I'll be possessive, jealous, controlling in ways you won't always like. I know. And I won't let you go. Ever. Even if you change your mind later. That should have scared me. Instead, it felt like a promise. Then I guess I better be sure, I said softly. And I am. I'm yours, Dante. Completely. He kissed me then, deep and claiming, his hand fisting in my hair, pulling me as close as his injuries allowed. When we broke apart, both breathing hard, his forehead rested against mine. I'm going to end Victor, he promised. And then I'm going to give you the life you deserve. You and Emma both. I don't need luxury. Not luxury. Safety. Peace. The ability to sleep without fear. His thumb traced my lower lip. The ability to just be. Without carrying everything alone. Tears burned my eyes. Okay. Okay? Yeah. Okay. He smiled. A real smile. Not the cold calculation I'd seen before. It transformed his face. Made him look younger. Almost vulnerable. I need to ask you something, he said. What? His hand moved to the back of my neck, possessive and grounding. When this is over, when Victor is gone and you're truly safe, will you stay with me? Not because you need protection, but because you want to. My heart stuttered. Dante. I know it's fast. I know we barely know each other, but I also know that I've never felt like this about anyone. Like if I lost you, I'd burn the entire city down looking for you. His eyes were fierce, honest. So I'm asking, will you stay? I thought about Mrs. Chen's warnings, about golden cages and all-consuming love, but I also thought about Dante catching me when I fell, about his rage at my bruises, about the way he looked at Emma like she was precious, about how, despite everything, I felt safer with him than I'd ever felt in my life. Yes, I whispered. I'll stay. His smile could have powered the sun. The plan came together over the next week. Dante healed fast, too fast, according to the doctor. But he ignored orders to rest. Instead, he spent hours in his office with Marco and other men whose names I was beginning to learn. Luca, his second in command. James, who handled logistics. Tony, whose specialty was information. They were planning something big. I could feel it in the tension that crackled through the compound. I don't want you involved, Dante said when I asked. We were in his bedroom. Our bedroom now, though we hadn't discussed the shift. It had just happened naturally, me gravitating to his space, him pulling me closer each night. I'm already involved. Not like this. He was dressing for another meeting, buttoning a fresh shirt over healing scars. What I'm planning, it's not something you should witness. You're going after Victor. His hand stilled. Yes. When? Tomorrow night. We tracked him to a warehouse on the east side. He's getting sloppy, desperate. Dante turned to face me. I'm ending this, Sophia. Permanently. I crossed to him, hands sliding up his chest to rest over his heart. Steady, strong, alive. Promise me you'll come back. I always come back to what's mine, Dante. He kissed me, swallowing whatever protest I'd been about to make. When he pulled back, his eyes were serious. I need you to promise me something too. What? If anything goes wrong, if I don't come back, He pressed a finger to my lips when I started to argue. Listen, if I don't come back, Marco will take care of you. He has instructions, money set aside. He'll get you and Emma somewhere safe, somewhere Victor's people can never find you. Stop talking like that. I have to. His hands cupped my face. Because you need to know. You and Emma. You're my priority now. Not the business, not the family name. You. Tears burned my eyes. I love you. The words slipped out before I could stop them. Dante went completely still, eyes widening. Say that again. I love you, I repeated, stronger this time. I know it's insane. I know it's too fast, but I do. I love you, Dante Romano. He kissed me again, deeper this time, pouring everything he couldn't say into the contact. When we finally broke apart, his voice was rough with emotion. I love you too. So fucking much it terrifies me. The next evening arrived too quickly. Dante was dressed in all black again, weapons I tried not to think about concealed beneath his jacket. He spent an hour with Emma before leaving, playing dolls with the same intensity he brought to everything else. Watching them together made my chest ache. Be good for your mom, he told her, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. I'll be back before breakfast with those pancakes I promised. Mickey Mouse shaped? The best Mickey Mouse pancakes you've ever seen. After Emma went to bed, Dante found me on the balcony overlooking the compound. His arms came around me from behind, chin resting on my head. I'll be back, he promised. This ends tonight. I know. I turned in his arms. I trust you. He kissed me one last time, possessive, claiming, a promise. And then he was gone. Midnight came and went, then 1 a.m., 2. I paced the bedroom, phone clutched in my hand. Mrs. Chen had tried to convince me to sleep. But how could I when Dante was out there facing down a man who wanted him dead? At 2:30, my phone buzzed. Marco's number. My hands shook as I answered. Hello? It's done. Relief flooded through me so intensely I had to sit down. Dante? Wants you to meet him in his office. Fine. On his way back now. 20 minutes later, I stood outside the office door, heart pounding. When I knocked, Dante's voice called for me to enter. He stood by the window, still in all black, but there was blood on his hands. Not his blood, I realized. He'd cleaned up as much as possible, but evidence of violence lingered. Is he dead? I asked quietly. Yes. Dante turned to face me. Victor's dead. His operation is finished. The threat is eliminated. I should have felt horror. Should have felt guilt for being relieved that a man was dead. Instead, I felt free. Show me, I said. What? Your hands. Show me what you did to keep us safe. Dante's eyes widened. Slowly, he raised his hands, palms up, showing me the blood he'd shed. For me, for Emma. I crossed to him, took those bloody hands in mine, and kissed his knuckles. Thank you, I whispered. For protecting us. Something in his expression cracked. He pulled me against him, burying his face in my hair. You're not afraid of me. No. You should be. But I'm not. I pulled back to meet his eyes, because I know the difference between a man who hurts because he wants power and a man who hurts to protect what he loves. He kissed me then, desperate and deep, tasting like relief and possession and promise. When we broke apart, he pressed his forehead to mine. Marry me. The words hung in the air between us. What? Marry me, Sophia. Not because you need my protection. You have that regardless. But because I want you as mine in every way possible. Because I want to wake up next to you every morning and fall asleep with you every night. Because I want to be Emma's father in more than just protection. His hands framed my face. Marry me. We've known each other less than 2 weeks. I know. People will think we're insane. I don't care what people think. Dante. I've spent my entire life being careful, Sophia. Calculating every move, planning every contingency, and then you fell into my arms and nothing else mattered except keeping you safe. Keeping you close. His thumb traced my cheekbone. I don't want careful anymore. I want you. I thought about every logical reason to say no. About how fast this was, how little we truly knew each other. How his world was violence and darkness, but I also thought about how he'd caught me when I fell. How he'd looked at my bruises with such rage I thought he might shatter. How he'd protected Emma like she was already his daughter. How he'd killed to keep us safe, and would do it again without hesitation. How, despite everything, I'd never felt more seen, more valued, more loved than in his arms. "Yes," I said. His smile was brilliant. "Yeah? Yeah, I'll marry you, Dante Romano." He kissed me again, lifting me off my feet, spinning me around until I laughed. When he set me down, his hand went immediately to his pocket. "I've been carrying this for 3 days, he admitted, pulling out a small velvet box, hoping you'd say yes. Inside was a ring that stole my breath. A diamond that caught the light like captured fire, set in platinum with smaller stones circling it. Beautiful, expensive, and somehow exactly right. He slid it onto my finger. Perfect fit. "How did you know my size?" "I know everything about you, amore." His accent thickened on the endearment. "It's my job to know what's mine." 3 months later. The wedding was small, just immediate family and close friends. Emma served as flower girl, taking her job with utmost seriousness. Mrs. Chen cried through the entire ceremony. Marco stood as Dante's best man, looking uncomfortable in a suit, but smiling nonetheless. I wore white, a simple dress that made me feel beautiful, not like a bride, but like myself. Dante wore black, because of course he did, and when he saw me walking down the aisle, the look in his eyes made my breath catch. "You're stunning," he whispered when I reached him. "You're biased. Completely." His smile was pure happiness, and I don't care. We said our vows in front of the few people who mattered. Promised to love, honor, and cherish. I added silently, to accept the darkness with the light. To understand that safety sometimes comes at a price. When the priest pronounced us husband and wife, Dante kissed me like he'd been starving for it, like I was air, and he'd been drowning. "Mine," he murmured against my lips. "Yours," I agreed, "and you're mine. Always." 6 months after that, I stood in the nursery of our new house. Not the compound, but an actual home with a yard where Emma could play. Dante had insisted on buying it outright, something with space and light and normalcy. Well, as much normalcy as possible for a mob boss's wife. The nursery was painted pale yellow, still waiting for furniture. I rested a hand on my slightly rounded belly, feeling the flutter of movement that still amazed me. "Mommy!" Emma's voice called from downstairs. "Daddy's home." Daddy. She'd started calling him that 2 months after the wedding, unprompted. Dante had cried, actually cried, the first time she said it. I found them in the kitchen. Emma was already chattering about her day at preschool while Dante listened with complete focus, shedding his jacket and weapon with practiced ease. When he saw me, his entire face softened. "There's my wife." He crossed to me, hands going immediately to my belly. "And my son. Or daughter," he agreed, though we both knew he was hoping for a girl who looked like me. He kissed me slowly, thoroughly, ignoring Emma's "ooh" from behind us. "How was your day?" I asked. "Boring meetings, paperwork, the usual." He said it so casually, like he ran a regular business instead of a criminal empire. "How are you feeling?" "Good, tired but good. You need to rest more." "I rest plenty. You hover. I protect." His hand splayed possessively across my stomach. "That's what I do." Mrs. Chen appeared in the doorway, Emma's hand in hers. "Come on, sweetheart. Bath time before dinner." After they left, Dante pulled me closer, arms wrapping around me from behind. We stood like that, watching the sun set through the kitchen window, his hands resting on our growing child. "Are you happy?" he asked quietly. I thought about everything that had led to this moment. The exhaustion, the fear, the violence. The night I'd collapsed into a stranger's arms and changed my entire life. Thought about the man holding me, dangerous, possessive, capable of terrible things, but also gentle with Emma, patient with my fears, protective of our future. Thought about how I'd gone from barely surviving to actually living. "Yes," I said honestly. "I'm happy." His arms tightened. "Good. Because I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure you stay that way, even when I'm huge and cranky, especially then." He turned me in his arms, gray eyes warm with love and promise. I told you once that protection is absolute. That extends to happiness too. Your happiness, Emma's happiness, that's my priority now. What about the business? Marco's handling more of it. I'm stepping back, focusing on family. He pressed a kiss to my forehead. Victor's death sent a message. We're stable now. Which means I get to be here, with you, with our children. Children, plural, like he was already planning for more. One thing at a time, Romano. His laugh was warm, genuine. Yes, ma'am. Emma's voice echoed from upstairs, calling for us to come see something. Dante took my hand, lacing our fingers together, and we headed up to our daughter. The words still made my heart clench. Later that night, after Emma was asleep and Mrs. Chen had retired to her cottage on the property, Dante and I lay in bed together. His hand traced lazy patterns on my belly, feeling our baby move. Do you ever regret it? I asked quietly. How we started, the violence, the chaos. He was quiet for a long moment. Then, I regret that you were hurt, that Marcus put his hands on you, that Victor threatened you and Emma. His hand stilled. But I don't regret catching you. I don't regret claiming you. And I definitely don't regret eliminating every threat that stood between us and this moment. That's very Mafia boss of you. I am a Mafia boss, amore. That hasn't changed. I know. I turned to face him. But you're also a man who makes Mickey Mouse pancakes and reads bedtime stories and cries when his stepdaughter calls him daddy. His expression softened. She made me a father before you even told me you were pregnant. That little girl owns me completely. And the new baby will own me just as completely. He pulled me closer, careful of my belly. You all do. My entire empire means nothing compared to you three. I kissed him softly. I love you. I love you too. His hand cupped my face. Thank you. For what? For falling into my arms. For trusting me. For staying. His thumb traced my cheekbone. For giving me a family worth protecting. Tears burned my eyes. You gave me that too. Safety, love, a future, everything I thought I'd lost. You'll never lose it again. I promise you that. And I believed him. Because Dante Romano kept his promises, no matter what they cost. 2 years later, I sat in the garden watching Emma push her little brother on the swing set. Alessandro, named after Dante's father, squealed with delight, his dark curls bouncing. At 1 year old, he was already showing signs of his father's intensity, those same gray eyes taking in everything with serious focus. Dante appeared beside me, sliding an arm around my shoulders. What are you thinking about? How different my life is from what I imagined. Better or worse? I looked at Emma, confident and happy. No longer the scared little girl who'd watched her mother get hurt. Looked at Alessandro, loved and protected from birth. Looked at the man beside me, still dangerous, still capable of violence, but utterly devoted to his family. Better, I said, infinitely better. Even though you're married to a criminal? Even though. I turned to kiss him. Maybe because of it. You're the only one who ever really saw me. The exhausted nurse who was disappearing into nothing. You caught me before I completely broke. You caught me too, he said quietly. I just didn't know I was falling until you were already under my skin. Emma ran over, Alessandro toddling behind her. Daddy, can we have a tea party? Of course, Principessa. He stood, scooping Alessandro into his arms. But I get to be the dragon. Dragons don't drink tea, this one does. Their bickering faded as they headed toward the playhouse Dante had built. Mrs. Chen appeared beside me, lowering herself into the chair Dante had vacated. You proved me wrong, she said. About what? The cage. She gestured to the garden, to Dante playing with the children, to the life we'd built. This isn't a cage at all, is it? I thought about Dante's protection, his possessiveness, the way he needed to know where I was at all times. Thought about how I couldn't go anywhere without security, how my life was forever tied to his world of darkness. But I also thought about waking up next to the man I loved every morning, about Emma calling him daddy with pure trust, about Alessandro's face lighting up when Dante came home, about feeling safe for the first time in my adult life. No, I said finally. It's not a cage. It's a fortress. And I chose to stay inside it. Because you love him. Because I love him, I agreed. And because he loves me in a way I never thought possible. Completely. Absolutely. With every dangerous, violent, protective fiber of his being. Mrs. Chen smiled. Then I'm happy for you, honey. You deserve this. After she left, I sat alone for a moment, watching my family play. Dante caught my eye across the garden and smiled. That private smile reserved just for me. The one that promised protection, devotion, and a love so consuming it would burn down the world if necessary. I smiled back, hand resting on my belly where our second child was just beginning to grow. Another secret for now, one I'd tell him tonight. Emma's laughter rang out, pure and joyful. Alessandro's giggle followed. And Dante's deep voice, playing the dragon with complete seriousness. This was my life now, not the exhausted nurse working herself to death, not the battered wife hiding bruises, not the desperate single mother barely surviving, but Sophia Romano, wife, mother, the woman who'd fallen into a Mafia boss's arms and found not a cage, but a home. And I wouldn't change a single violent, chaotic, beautiful moment of it. Because sometimes safety comes with a price. Sometimes love is possessive and all-consuming. Sometimes the man who catches you is dangerous, dark, and capable of terrible things. But sometimes, just sometimes, he's exactly what you need, and Dante Romano was everything I needed and more. He caught me when I fell. He saw my bruises and promised vengeance. He eliminated every threat to my happiness. He loved me with the intensity of 1,000 suns, and I loved him back just as fiercely. Forever.